Hey, it's Laurie. Thanks for stopping by. Today, I'm participating in a collab with these amazing women. I'll be linking the playlist in my description, so make sure you go on over and check it out. I'm starting my first project off by using one of these signs from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be removing the little cottontails. I'm hanging on to them because I'm going to be using a couple in my projects. I removed the hanger from the sign, and we're going to be working on the plain side. I found this printout on Pinterest, and I will link it below. I printed it out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Once my bunny was cut out, I set it aside, and then using my white acrylic paint, I gave my sign a coat. Now that it's dry, I'm using my ruler and measuring out some lines on the top. The sign measures 9 inches wide, so I'm making a mark at every 1.5 inch. When I was done, I used the marks that I made and followed lines with my ruler. I want to give my sign a distressed look, so I'm just using my pencil and sketching along the line. I'm definitely not being neat, and when I'm done, I'm using my finger and I'm just running it along the line and kind of smudging up the pencil mark. When I was done, I followed the exact same instructions for my next 4 lines. To give my sign some normal wood imperfections, I'm just using my pencil and sketching little marks here and there. And once again, when I'm done, I just use my finger to kind of smudge it onto the board. With my sign complete, I'm now going to add my bunny using some Mod Podge. Using a paintbrush, I added some to the back of my cutout, and then I centered it on my sign. I then pressed it down to keep it in place. For this part of the project, I headed outside and I picked up the straightest sticks I could find. I'm using all random sizes of wood, and all I'm doing is placing the piece against my cutout, and then I'm cutting it to size. Then I just hot glue it into place. From there, I continue adding my sticks and my twigs. I measure them, I cut them to size, and then I hot glue them into place. One of the things that I really like about this project is not only is it super cute, but it's a rustic piece, so if your ends aren't perfect or everything doesn't match up exactly, it's not to worry because it just adds character to your sign. Once the body and the head was done, I then worked my way up to the ears. With the ears complete, I'm filling in some of the open space between the sticks by adding more sticks to the bunny. And once again, all I'm doing is measuring them out, cutting them, and hot gluing them into place. Now that the bunny's complete, I'm going to be adding a frame using some pawpaw branches that I have in my yard. They grow straight and have smooth bark. I added in some video. I thought you might like to see what they look like. They also bear a green fruit, but I am not a big fan. If you don't have a pawpaw tree, just use the straightest sticks you can find, and that will work just as well. I'm doubling up on each of the sides. I pre-measured my branches and cut them, and now I'm just hot gluing them into place. With my frame all put together, I'm making a hanger by using a piece of jute, and I'm just cutting it to size and hot gluing it onto the back. To give my hanger a little extra strength, I attached a piece of burlap. I'm making a bow for my bunny using this pretty polka dot burlap ribbon that I found at the Dollar Tree. I decided what size, I made a simple bow, and then using my glue gun, I hot glued it to the side of the bunny's neck. To finish up, I'm using one of the little cottontails that I pulled off the sign in the beginning, and I'm just hot gluing it into place. And with that, my rustic bunny sign that cost a little more than $1 is complete. I'm starting this project by recycling a pizza sauce jar, but anything you have on hand will work fine too. I'm also going to be using some of the sticks that I had left over from my first project. I'm measuring each of the sticks against the jar and I'm cutting them to size. This is the easiest project to make and I think it looks so high-end when it's finished. Now that all my sticks are cut to size, I'm using my hot glue gun and I'm attaching them to the side of the jar. As I'm gluing the sticks in place, I'm making sure the bottom of the stick sits flush with the bottom of my jar. Once all my sticks are attached, there are some open spaces where I can see the glass, so I'm using a few more of my cut sticks and I'm gluing them over the open spaces to hide the glass. To give my rustic vase a little character, I'm using some of the Dollar Tree jute. I'm tying on my first piece and then I'm wrapping the jute around the jar a few times. Once I tied the end piece off, I cut a few short pieces of jute that I'm going to use as an accent, and then all I did was tie them around my original knot. I neatened up the ends of my jute, and now I'm using this Easter Dollar Tree ribbon to make a bow accent. I folded my ribbon in half, about 4 inches in length, and then I folded it in half again. I then cut a short piece of jute and tied it off in the middle. I fluffed the 2 loops and I pulled the short tails from underneath. Then using my glue gun, I attached it to the front of my vase over the knots. I'm using some of these pretty spring Dollar Tree flowers to add a pop of color. I arranged them in my vase, and when I was done, my rustic stick vase was complete. For my third project, I'm using one of the Dollar Tree burlap bunny bags. I'm using my scissors and I'm cutting down the center to make the ears just a bit longer. I removed the manufacturer tag from the inside and I cut along the bottom edge. I folded over the inside edge of the ear. I added some hot glue. Then I folded over the back edge of the ear, attaching them both together. After my first ear was complete, I then did the exact same thing to my second ear. To give my bunny rounded ears, I folded them both together and then I used my scissors to round them off. I once again used my glue gun and sealed up the ends of the ears. To give my bunny's ears a little bend, I'm using 2 pieces of floral wire and I'm folding them both in half. When I'm done, I'm placing one in each of my bunny's ears. I used some hot glue to hold them in place, and then using some filler, I stuffed the ears and the head. I'm making sure while I stuff it that I only stuff it halfway full. When I was done, I took one of the small Dollar Tree terracotta pots and I placed the bunny's head over it. With my bunny standing on its own, you can now see how the ears bend with the wire. I used my hot glue gun and I attached the bunny to the pot. I'm using some of this pretty pink and white gingham ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I'm making a simple bow to add to my bunny. When I was done, I hot glued it onto her head. To give my bunny a home, I'm using one of the larger flower pots from the Dollar Tree and I'm painting it with my white acrylic paint. When it was dry, I cut a piece of floral foam and they sell this at the Dollar Tree to fit inside. I added some hot glue to hold it in place, and now I'm using this pretty purple ribbon that I found at the Dollar Tree as an accent. I'm using a cottontail from my first project and covering where my ribbons met. I then added some hot glue and attached my bunny. To decorate my project, I'm using some of the Dollar Tree carrots and the sparkly eggs. I didn't have a specific plan of where I was placing them. I just used my hot glue gun and kind of randomly placed them all here and there. For the next step in this project, I'm using 8 of the tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. I'm using my quick set white Starbond glue and I'm attaching my blocks in sets of 2. They set up pretty quickly and I'm going to attach them to this Dollar Tree wooden crate. Once again, I used my Starbond glue and I added a block to each corner to make legs for my crate. I let it set up and then I gave it a coat of white acrylic paint. When it was dry, I added 3 different colors of the sheer Dollar Tree ribbons around the outside as an accent. I'm adding the word bunny to the front of my crate and I'm using this one from the Dollar Tree. I used my yellow acrylic paint and I ended up giving it 3 coats. If you have spray paint, that would work great too. When it was dry, I added some purple dot accents using the end of my paintbrush. I let my word bunny dry completely and then using my hot glue gun, I attached it to the front of my crate. I want to add the word hop and I'm using some of these fun Dollar Tree stickers. They have really cute patterns, but if you don't like them, you can always paint them. I've done that in the past and they come out great. They are sticky, but to give them a little extra help, I used a small amount of hot glue and I attached them on the front. With all my pieces finally complete, I'm adding my bunny to the crate and then I'm randomly hot gluing my carrots and my Easter eggs around it. I added on a little bow accent and with that, my Easter bunny hop is complete. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me while I made these crafts. I hope you enjoyed them. If you're new and you haven't yet subscribed, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below and make sure you check out our Friend Collab playlist. I'll have it linked in my description. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.